Hello and welcome to the Living in Salida podcast, a podcast that offers insights into the charm and reality of living, working, and playing in the small mountain town of Salida, Colorado. I'm your host, McCarthy, a realtor that specializes in buying and selling in the Salida, Colorado area. In addition to helping people buy and sell property here, I love connecting with the wonderful people of our community, learning about their experiences in our town, and sharing these little slices of life in Salida with you. Salida is known for being an area with abundant natural beauty and access to outdoor recreation. The Arkansas River flows through our town. We're surrounded by mountains and lots of open space, and nature is a pivotal part of what makes this area so special. So today we're going to be talking about the importance of protecting the natural environment here. And I'm going to be chatting with Jessica Downing. Jessica is the interim director for GARNA, which stands for Greater Arkansas River Nature Association. GARNA is an environmental nonprofit organization founded in 1996 as a cooperative association for the Arkansas Headwaters Recreation Area for Education and Stewardship. GARNA works with communities of the Upper Arkansas River Valley, which includes Salida, to foster the stewardship of the region's natural environment and the resilience of our communities. Thanks for being here, Jessica.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about you before we talk about GARNA, because you're here and I want to know your story first. Right. So what drew you to this beautiful area of Salida, and how long have you been here?
Well, I like to say I've done the Mountain Town Shuffle.
Okay.
I grew up in the Roaring Fork Valley. So my childhood was amongst the mountains and the rivers and the small towns of the western slope of Colorado.
Okay.
After college, I moved back to Carbondale for about 8 years and then moved to Whitefish, Montana for 8 years. And that was just a cool adventure. But if anybody's been to Northwest Montana, they know that there is no sunshine, just like Colorado. And for two Colorado kids, my husband and I were like, no more. And so we started looking back on what we wanted to move back, and we had five things of a town that we wanted. We were like, let's just shoot the moon, let's go where we want instead of where a job takes us.
Okay.
And Salida checked all 5 of those boxes. The only town in the state that did.
Okay, you gotta know, what were your 5 things?
Okay, first one was mountain biking from my backyard. I'm a big mountain biker. Second was skiing within a half an hour.
Okay.
Third was at least 3 hours, or minimum of 3 hours from at least one set of parents. My mom is still in Carbondale. My in-laws are on the Front Range. The fourth was a charter Montessori school.
Oh, okay.
My daughter goes to the Montessori school, and she had done that as a preschooler and loved it. So we were like, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
And the fifth was, and granted, this is back in 2017.
Okay.
The fifth was somewhere we can afford.
Gotcha. Okay.
So the Montessori school and the affordability really limited our options.
Sure, yeah.
But we had been through here before. We'd ridden the crest in college. Just being from the West Slope, drive through a lot. My husband's actually from Montrose, and so he'd been through a lot. And so, so we're like, we're going. We put our house on the market, and we came. And
That's
literally
amazing.
The only people that knew we were coming was the people that were the storage unit people. So
wow.
we could put our stuff in. We got a hotel, and we figured it out. And it was a week before school started. So day 1 was get my daughter enrolled in first grade. Day 2 was let's look for a rental. Day 3 was, well, maybe I should find a job now.
Worry about that. Wow, that's bold. I love that.
Bold, yeah.
Well, and I have to say, the 30 minutes to a ski resort is also limiting, too, when you talk about the affordability. I know, housing is a big thing here in terms of price, and it is challenging for many. I don't want to disregard that. But if you're comparing it to other places that are 30 minutes away from ski areas, you're talking about places like, Vail and Breckenridge and Aspen, and, so.
Well, and even Carbondale now, it's like we lived in affordable housing when we lived there, and those units are now more than what we bought our house here for. And it's just like, it is expensive here, but for the amenities we have, and when you compare apples to apples, the entire state is ridiculous.
Totally. Yeah, it's everywhere. So I just, wanted to acknowledge that. But yes, that's, those are some good reasons though. And that's a good way to highlight, because I haven't heard all of those together.
Well, and it's funny, we actually got lucky, and both sets of grandparents are 3 hours. So
that's
it's
so
great.
nice.
Yeah.
It's nice to have family
Not
close
too
by.
close.
Yeah, exactly.
But not too far.
Yeah, not too far as well, but not too close, depending on the relationship. Okay, so that segues us into then day 2 or 3. You started looking for a job. Tell us your story with that.
So I've had a fun social. I mean, you move to a small town, you go work at a bike shop. I mean, that's kind of what you do.
It's a great way to meet people.
Actually, my very first job, we were staying at one of those hotels right across from the pool. And I walked over there, and they had a hiring sign. And so I walked in, and my extremely overqualified resume, where I had been doing in Montana tourism marketing. I worked at the Visitors Bureau and at the ski area up there. And when we lived in Carbondale, I worked at an outdoor industry public relations firm. So I was like, hey, want to hire me for a front desk? I know how to talk to people.
Like, we can't pay you what you're worth, probably, right?
But it was fine. I was like, my husband's a freelancer, so it was okay. Figured as long as I got going something.
Yeah, you literally followed the sign.
Yeah, I literally followed the sign. Thank you, Laura Pintain, for hiring me.
She's lovely. I know her. Yeah.
So I worked there, and then I got a job at Absolute also. So I did both of those.
Absolute Bikes. Yeah.
Yep. I started there as a coach for the Absolute Youth Cycling program, and then they were able to hire me on a sales staff. So I actually worked there for 5 years. I am still the head coach for the Absolute Youth Cycling, which is now SALIDA Youth Cycling. We switched it to SALIDA Mountain Trails for a little more longevity for the program.
Gotcha.
So I'm still heavily involved with that organization.
Nice.
So I decided just after the pandemic, why not go back to grad school? I'm in my 40s. Sure thing. That sounds like something fun to do. I've always been really interested in planning and community development. So I went back to school for community planning.
Okay.
And I had known Dominique, who is the former director of GARNA 2 ago.
Okay.
Our daughters are the same age. We have run in similar circles, and I happened to just off the hand mention to her, "Hey, I'm getting this grad program. I'm really interested in like doing something like awesome with it, like natural environmental planning, nature, whatnot.
Yeah.
If you hear of anything." 2 months later, she called me and was like, "I have something for you. I just got a grant. We've got a program. You can run it. This is great."
Wow.
So, as I like to say in Salida, you basically get your job once you meet all the right people, because I had definitely applied for many things over the years, and just waited for the perfect thing. So so I started at GARNA in 2022 as the rec adopters coordinator. So I was in charge of all the volunteer outdoor public lands volunteer projects. So and part of that, which is what kind of tied into the community development aspect, was we were using GIS programs to like work with like volunteers and mark campsites and work with the agencies and dashboard and some of this tech stuff that I'd gone to school for. So that was kind of fun. And so basically from there, started becoming, on everybody's job description, other duties as required. Over the years got a little bigger.
Robust over there.
As the volunteer project kind of got in its rhythm and needed less like actual like management, because it was on a really nice flow. I had time to do other duties as assigned, and with my background in marketing and PR, I started doing use you. I started doing all the communications, and I also am very nerdy techie, so kind of do all the IT, and so it's just started. My other duties as assigned became a little greater. And then last year we refocused my position to be community outreach director, and community engagement director, and because there were so many things, so volunteering and fundraising and membership and communications all kind of wrapped into one.
Okay, so they give you like one umbrella kind of thing. Okay.
So other duties as required.
There you go. Which sounds like a good amount, but all very important because the organization was growing, it sounds like. So you were able to kind of help fill that need for them. Did you already have, besides, being a mountain biker and, appreciating the outdoors, did you have much beyond that with, in terms of the nature preservation, conservation piece of things?
Yeah, actually, my mom, when I was a child, volunteered at the Aspen Center for Environmental Sciences, also known as ACES, up in Aspen, on Hallam Lake, and they have an amazing outdoor education program. And so she was a volunteer there when I was a kid, and I'd come along with her. And actually, even when I was very little, when we lived in Wisconsin, ages 1 through 3 or 0 through 3, she volunteered at a nature preserve up there. So I definitely spent all of my diaper years toting along with my mom as she was volunteering at these areas. And so she's always been a huge outdoor enthusiast. I mean, she's in her 70s and she still backpacks and skis and
that's awesome.
Mountain bikes and hikes and stuff. And so I learned my love of like my husband was laughing at us a couple years ago. We went backpacking. We took my daughter on her first backpack trip, and my mom and I each had our flower books, and we were like stopping constantly, like, look at that one, oh, look at that one, oh, look at that one. And my husband and daughter were just like, oh my gosh, you two, like, we're going to take forever on this hike.
That's awesome.
And so, so I got my love of like the natural world and my knowledge of it from my mom, and just growing up in like the Roaring Fork Valley just is as magical as the Arkansas Valley, just a little different. But just with like the river and the mountains and like the nature and the random deer in your backyard and so all the things, and
then just appreciating it too, because I think that's another level. You can like see, oh, that's a really pretty mountain view, and then like I want to understand that plant and I want to take care of that. I want to protect that plant. I feel like it's layers there. Yeah. So to go the extra step. So, which is something that GARNA does. So talk a little bit about that. I guess a little bit about what some of the programs that GARNA does, and then we can talk about a little bit more about how you got your role. So some of the conservation efforts, I know you mentioned, you learned when you were a kid through another program, but GARNA has other programs for the youth as well. So you can start there.
I always, ACES and Aspen is definitely like my like high bar. I'm like, I want to be like them. 'Cause they like the amount of resources they do, and it's fun because I look at their little brochures and I'm like, oh, we already do that. Oh, we already do that. Oh, we already do that. Awesome. So
we're already
we're in track.
There you go.
But so we kind of have 4 key pillars. One is environmental education.
Okay.
One is public lands stewardship, sustainability, and heritage. Kind of like our 4 pillars. So environmental education is what most people know us for. So that is our youth programs, our summer nature camp for 5 through 10-year-olds, our in-school programs. We just had our first spring field trip with the SALIDA 3rd graders in May.
Okay.
And we've got a couple more lined up, and then we'll do a bunch with BV and also SALIDA in the fall. So that's a lot of where people know us from is our youth programming.
Okay.
But then we also do like community programs. Like we bring mountain film into the community, sometimes Wild and Scenic, Colorado Environmental Film Festival. This year with the Valley View Learning Nature Center, we are excited to do a lot more public like education seminars. In the past, we've done like maybe 1 or 2 a year where we bring in like a really cool speaker and talks about like geology or public lands or something. But we're going to try to do one once a month.
Okay, and where is that again?
It's on County Road 140. So right below the SALIDA airport. It's the old historic Valley View Schoolhouse, not to be confused with the hot springs.
Okay.
We're out in the valley. No, it's County Road 140, and it's the old schoolhouse.
But they just refurbished and everything?
Like the old Richardson Ranch property. It's gone through the school district, and the county now owns it, and we are renting it from the county as a kind of a community space and an education center. So the goal is like get a pollinator garden going and get some really cool like birding features out there, and then have it as a space for people to like come and like learn about nature programming, and maybe hopefully like eventually if we have like the staff and the finances to make it happen, even just like a drop-in type spot. But then it's great for like smaller like group seminars. So we've got some talks about water coming up, and the Stage and Rail Trail, and we're going to do some Dark Skies programs, and just there's a lot of things to really engage the community for education. And then open for like partners to come in and use it as well for some of their programming that we can partner with. So that's education. Public lands volunteers. We have 2 public lands chapters, Friends of 4 Mile and Upper Arkansas Wilderness Volunteers.
Okay.
And so Friends of 4 Mile obviously works in 4 Mile, and they do a lot of work there with both the BLM and the Forest Service.
And that's in BV, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then the Upper Arkansas Wilderness Volunteers really focuses on wilderness trails, and so they are all Sawyer certified, so can do chainsaws, or hand saws when you end up in the wilderness, and they are a huge help to the Forest Service for helping maintain trails. They've rebuilt signs. They've worked on culverts, just doing some of the big projects that the Forest Service doesn't necessarily have time, and this year staff to do. So they've got a heavy lift of projects this year.
I bet.
As does 4 Mile. So we've been involved with the campaign management plans, and then one of our biggest events of the year is Clean Up Green Up. And that is always on Colorado Public Lands Day, which is the 3rd week of May. And that's in partnership with Arkansas Headwaters, and we basically clean up the watershed. So we usually have about 100 volunteers that come out, and sometimes more. And we just clean up the river and the watershed. So people's favorite areas, and
keep it nice for everybody. Mm-hmm. And,
that's awesome. Get it before runoff, which there won't be much this year, but
we'll see, right? I don't know. You know more than me on that.
So that's a big program. Then the 3rd one is sustainability. So we're always kind of like in and out working with partners with like sustainability programs. We work really closely with Elements on composting, working with the new sustainability program that the county and the city have launched. So we'll be a partner in the organization that is going to be running that program. We offer recycling for our members. We have a dumpster in the back of our building.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
$5 a drop.
Wow.
And so, because there's a lot of people that don't live in town. Like, I have recycling in town from my trash provider, but a lot of the neighborhoods that are outside of, like, city limits, like, their neighborhoods just have a dumpster and they don't have a recycling option.
Yeah.
Or living
and you have to, like, take it far. Okay.
Yeah, so we offer, that's a perk for if you're a GARNA member. Is that
definitely.
Pay $5.
Well, how do you join to become a member? We might as well talk about it now.
To GARNA, GARNA.org, and there's a cute little button that says join in the top right.
Yep.
So it's just, one thing that we're excited to offer people. But sustainability takes so many roles. It's a big sustainability is big. So it's like we just do projects here and there.
Yeah.
And then the 4th one is heritage. We work on the Stage and Rail Historic Route. That's one of our projects. We are the facilitator for the Chaffee County Area Heritage Board.
Okay.
Advisory board. There's so
You're
many
here with
doubles.
no notes, so I mean,
I have
it's
no
amazing.
notes.
You're amazing.
I like to joke if it's an acronym, I'm probably involved.
There you go.
The Heritage Board, which is the Collegiate Peak Scenic Byway.
Okay.
So we're kind of like, we work with the county really closely on that. It's a county appointed advisory board, but we serve as the staff for that.
And what do they do for?
So it's managing the Collegiate Peaks Byway. So it's part of the National Scenic Byway program.
Okay. Just to make sure it's running.
We have interpretive signs. So now we're working on the Granite Bridge. If anyone has driven up towards Leadville in the last year, probably noticed the Granite Bridge had been getting replaced when you're going through Granite. So we've got some new interpretive panels that will be going up there talking about the history of the bridge and as a scenic byway stop. We have the brochure. Working on some. Actually, we're working on some really cool. It's called a Travel Stories app. And so there'll be so as you're driving through the Collegiate Peaks Byway, if you have this app downloaded, and if you download that story ahead of time, you can listen to it while you're going through, and it's geo fenced. So when you enter into one of the sections, it'll start talking to you about. It will tell you a historic point of that section.
That's so cool. Yeah. So that'd be a fun road trip for somebody who's interested in just coming in this area and learning about. That's actually really cool.
Yeah, and that's something that's run through the Colorado Department of Tourism Department, and so they've got a bunch of areas. So Bighorn Sheep Canyon, so going down to Canyon is one that's active right now, and so that's what we're kind of modeling a lot of our script after, so that it has some nice flow to it.
Nice.
And I hear that Mike from CPR News, KRCC is going to be the voice on that one, so that'll be
nice.
fun.
So some good radio personalities to make your trip worthwhile.
We'll try to pitch DNR for a future one.
There you go. Oh, there you go. Yeah, DNR does have a great voice. Perfect radio voice. Oh my gosh, you guys cover such a gamut of things that are just valuable for this area. Because like I said at the top, I mean, people come here for the outdoors. I mean, that's the majority of the draw here. There's other good things about living in Salida, the community, but just the outdoors are huge. I mean, it's why a lot of our economy is based on tourism. Mm-hmm. That's part of why people are coming here. And your organization is directly contributing to maintaining this beautiful natural beauty. So.
Well, and a lot of people don't know that Chaffee County is 80% public lands.
Yeah, that's a huge number.
And I remember visiting here when I was younger and being like, wow, you can just camp anywhere. This is crazy. I'm used to living in a tight little valley where like it goes straight up and there's not a lot of public land. Like the public land is all like mountain peak or extreme, like full wilderness. And, but because of that, we also get a lot of visitors and a lot of people that are like, I can just go camp wherever I want and I can just go do whatever I want. And, it puts in, I think I checked our county is like only like 25,000 people or something.
I think that's about right, like 20-ish.
Yeah.
Like, the whole county. So Chaffee County, which is Salida and Buena Vista and Nathrop and kind of this whole area.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
like 20-something thousand people and then 80,000 or 80,000, or 80% public land. Like,
I forgot what the acreage number was. I don't know.
I don't know.
I meant to look it up.
But I mean, that's a huge, like, not a lot of people for a lot of public land.
Yes.
And so we get a lot of that that infrastructure and trying to maintain all the visitors that we get. So that's a lot of also what we're trying to do is like mitigate that visitor impact through education. And so trying to, we work with the Visitors Bureau on like trying to help promote their Adventure by Nature pledge. If you've been out in the woods, my favorite project.
Okay, yeah, I was going to ask you that. Please do.
Porta potties on public lands.
Okay. So is that happening now?
A little bit of irony in that sense. No, yeah, so they're getting actually placed as we are talking. I had an email from one of our providers this morning asking me for some pins so they can make sure they put them in the right spot.
Okay.
So we have 30 porta potties at various trailheads and dispersed camping areas around the county. Okay. Last year they were all bright blue. This year we've got multiple colors. We've got blue and brown.
Okay.
And they'll have, most of them have it on, but I've got to get more stickers made. But we'll have that Adventure by Nature pledge that has how to take care of your public lands, campfire safety.
Okay.
And so that's a huge program that we get supported through the Common Grounds Fund.
Okay.
Which is that little tiny sales tax that we all pay.
Okay.
That goes to recreation mitigation. So this program is funded via that Common Grounds program. So these literally are your tax dollars at work is getting those porta potties out on public lands. And it's been huge. So we get them pumped once a week. And they are full.
Sure, but that's good to know that it's regularly maintained.
Mm-hmm, yep, and never fails. Monday morning before they get out there, I get a text from somebody with a picture of a full toilet. So thank you for that.
We're on it, though. Sounds like you're on it.
But yeah, so I mean, but that's obviously a huge need.
It is, yeah.
Vault toilets cost upwards of $200,000,
wow.
And they are like $40,000 to pump. So those are not cheap options. People are like, why doesn't the agencies put in more vault toilets? I'm like, well, because they cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
So they're a lot of maintenance. So
this is a solution.
This is a more just hopefully short term in some areas. There are some areas that do have plans for vault toilets. But as everyone knows how our agencies are faring right now, that might be a little while.
Yeah.
And so it's just a way that we can help with those public lands. And I'm going to put a little QR code on there too, be like, hello, thank you for using our toilets. Would you like to support this program? You can donate here.
I think that's a great idea. Yeah, because I'm sure people would appreciate. So are you placing them in areas that previously had nothing?
Yeah.
So what are some, like, from anybody that's listening that is, familiar in the Salida area?
Okay, so
give me a few trailheads or, just off the top of your head.
Burmac.
Okay.
That's a big one.
That is a big one.
And Salida Mountain Trails is actually getting a couple windshields built through a grant that they got that's going to protect that one. We've got them at some of the Salida Mountain Trails trailhead, so 108, 110, and Beesway up on Cottonwood.
Okay.
Then we've got Brown's Grotto, which is a new little zone just before you get up Hecla, just before Hecla.
And
It's
Hecla
a
Junction over there. Okay.
It's a new little BLM dispersed camping area, so we're putting them there. Browns Creek, have them. Midland Trail, we're working with Buena Vista Single Track, and we're kind of managing now theirs to make sure it's there consistently throughout the year.
Nice.
Up on Cottonwood Pass, we've got one at Cottonwood Lake, one at the dispersed camping area, two at Lost Lake this year. That was the one that I was getting text messages.
Gotcha.
Everyone loves hiking Lost Lake, and apparently the elevation does something to people's stomachs because that thing is nasty. And then a bunch of all the AHRA sites along County Road 371 in BV. So
Gotcha.
Riverside, Tunnel View, Rapid Number 4, and then up to Stone Cabin.
Okay.
So we've got,
Sounds
and
like
then a few other places
that's fine.
in between.
I was just curious.
I mean, the fact that I could rattle most of those off.
I mean, again, no notes. I'm very impressed. But yeah, you've got that seems so simple, but it takes funding, it takes organization, all of that. So that's awesome. So you are the interim director. Tell me a little bit more about your segue into your role now, because we talked about your, you joined in 2022.
Yeah. So I've been kind of like the unofficial deputy director for the last couple of months, just because, that's other duties as assigned also.
Sure.
But as probably many people have heard, our executive director unexpectedly passed away at the end of February.
Yeah.
Natural causes, but it was like completely unexpected.
Yeah.
And so as essentially second in line, I was appointed by the board to kind of step in and fill in, and we kind of gave it a 3-month just to kind of see what, just to make sure, get the fires, get the dumpster, less burning is hot.
Sure.
And just kind of make sure the organization grow, because bringing in someone from the outside would not make any sense when you don't know what's going on.
Yeah, and it's not like one person's handing it off to the other.
Right.
It's just such a sudden, and there's emotions involved.
Totally. A lot of emotion, and it's been really hard. We're still, every day, it's just like, what in the world?
Yeah, that's got to be rattling for your whole organization.
Yeah, the whole team. And I have the longest longevity at the organization of our current staff, and so it was pretty easy. I mean, it was not easy for me, but it was like kind of a natural progression into it. And our next board meeting, we're gonna probably, I might ask them to make it official.
Okay.
Get rid of this silly interim aspect.
There you go.
But no, we'll see. So it's,
in progress.
Yeah, our board of directors is awesome, and they've been so supportive, and they're like, basically, what do you need from us?
Yeah.
And so I think they will be really excited if I can stick with it. And I feel like we're in a place right now where another transition would actually be even harder.
Well, it sounds like you had to step up really quickly, and I know I'm a member and got the email that you guys, were pausing everything for 2 weeks and kind of figuring stuff out, and that seems like a reasonable way to approach it when it's this very sudden.
I mean, from the outside, it was paused.
Well, sure. I'm sure you were from the outside. They're like, please just give us a minute. I'm sure you guys
it was
were.
Like, don't talk to me. No,
we're just what?
I was texting a friend about something, and she's about work related, and she's like, "Why? You're supposed to be on a break right now." And I'm like, "That's funny."
The break for the public, but not for us.
This keeps people from coming and dropping off the recycling is belly button.
This is one more thing, but I just want to acknowledge that it's got to be hard for your organization. I know he's well respected and did great things there.
Oh yeah, his vision and passion and was infectious, and so really what we're just doing is keeping that vision alive. There's no such thing as going back to normal. It's just adjusting to a new normal. Yeah. And moving forward. And the schoolhouse, the Nature Learning Center, was something that Jason was so excited about. And so just putting a lot of energy into that to make sure that is living up to his
that's-
vision. And so we'll be doing a bunch of fundraisers throughout the summer just to keep that. I feel like we've been fundraising for this building forever, and it's hard to like bring something up. And I mean, we didn't do any of the restoration. That was all the county and SPOT, which is the Salida Parks Open Space and Trails nonprofit group. So they are the ones to thank for making this building look as amazing as it is. They just did such a good job. We got grants from Department of Local Affairs, DOLA, the Historical Colorado History Colorado. Oh.
That's fine.
Katie, I'm sorry I messed that up.
But she still appreciates you just the same.
And then the county as the like landlord also put in a lot. So
gotcha.
We're just the beneficiaries of this amazing space. But we're still, it's like chairs and tables and TVs and like just getting up internet and like toilet paper. I mean, like our current office, like it's owned by somebody else, so like we don't have to worry about the toilet paper. Now I'm like, oh, we have to buy toilet paper.
Yeah, that adds up. That's when you get the single ply. You get to buy yourself.
Yeah, so if y'all want nice toilet paper in Valley View, drop a couple bucks in there.
Yeah, exactly. That's funny. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into all of it. So that's great that you guys. It sounds like that was like a big vision for him was to get that schoolhouse.
Yeah, and it's been it's been intended for GARNA for at least 5 years.
Okay.
Dominique started working on this project. Like
Gotcha.
She's one of the originals of like, let's get this going. So it finally came to fruition this year.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
But he was on a bunch of historical foundations and stuff in Denver, and so just loved, like, that was just like he was so excited for like historic stuff. So
gotcha.
So he kind of took that project and was like, yes, let's take it. So
that'll be good to get it up and running.
So we're excited. Like, it's going to be home base for all of our nature camps this year.
That's right.
Because in the past we've just used parks. And then all of a sudden, every so often it rains around here. Not often, but every so often it does.
Well, in the summer it definitely does.
Yeah, especially, and it's like, then where do you take 15 kids and who are all like 6, 7, 8, 9, like little kids? The place that we used to use in BV closed down. That we used for like an inside place, and then with the library being under construction this summer, there was like, we used to do every other week. We do a week. Essentially in Poncha at the little South Park park at the bottom of Poncha Pass, and then in BV we did McPhellamy Park. But we had like the library to hide to, or that creekside place to hide to, and then we have to go to AHRA if it was raining, or our library in here in Salida. And so just having the space where we don't have to scramble.
Yeah, that sounds like a logistical
and the other thing we're able to offer this year is we're providing lunch. Because we've never had a place to prepare lunch, and so we're hoping like the value just is increased, and we can have more kids. So because we have this space, everyone's going to meet there, and then the younger kids will go on a field trip or go to the river, and the older kids will do like an in-class lesson. Then everyone will come back for lunch. And then the opposite. So then the older kids will go do whatever, like the outdoor activities for the day, and the younger kids will do the indoor activity.
Yeah.
And so, but then we have the option for indoor. So we totally redid all the curriculum, and
that's amazing.
I'm really excited.
Opening up some doors for you.
Yeah, it's just the opportunity that we've got that this is giving us is pretty amazing.
That is awesome, and I'm very excited. My son is now 5, so he's going for the first time to nature camps this summer. So very excited about that, and it is a great resource for the community. And so well, thank you so much. Tell us if anybody, now that we've been talking about all the amazing things that you guys are doing, let's talk again about how people can help, not just with donations but volunteer opportunities. And you covered so many things that you guys do. So what are some of like the top ways somebody who comes here and says, I appreciate what you're doing, I appreciate nature, how can I help?
There's a few ways. One is subscribe to our newsletter, because things they pop up a lot. we're trying to figure out our public lands volunteer programs this summer.
Okay.
Just with like staffing and stuff, but we definitely have a couple projects in line. But I mean, just getting involved. We have a Friday hiking club.
Okay.
And it's led by volunteers. And so it's like meeting somewhere.
It's a good way to meet people.
Yeah, it's a great way to meet
people. Coming here
people.
and you're new here, or
Yeah.
even like visiting. Could visitors? I guess you'd have to be a member.
No,
right?
you don't. Well, you used to have to be a member, but we
Okay.
decided that we wanted it to be more like as an outreach avenue to get people involved, instead of someone having to be like, well, I have to join and then I'm going to come, and what if I don't actually like any of the people that I just went hiking with? And then there's so we want you to come.
So if somebody's visiting Salida, they could potentially.
Yeah, I mean, and they'd have to plan ahead because it is limited to 12 people
Gotcha.
per day because basically of permitting.
That makes sense.
Once you have more than 12 people or 14 people in the national forest, you have to have a guiding permit.
Oh, okay.
And so we keep it low, and we have operating agreements with the Forest Service, the BLM,
Nice.
and Colorado Parks Wildlife. So like we can.
Yeah,
do
but they could
those
just go on
hikes.
your website and look, because I know you guys have
Yep,
that
and then
information
there's
about that
always
group.
like it's always on our website and who the hike leader is, or where to sign up for it. Sometimes we just have it like an actual sign up, and sometimes it's email the hike leader. Kind of depends upon who's in charge that day. And if it's not full, it's like someone can just hop in.
Yeah.
Our birding club meets once or twice a month, and they go
nice.
out birding in various areas around the county. We just had on May 10th, it's called the Global Big Day. It's not a typo, it's actually the Global Big Day.
Okay.
And it is a global bird count day. And so our birding club was out there, and I didn't read how many species they counted, but they had 4 different locations around the valley where they were doing bird counts.
To help track for migrations and everything.
Yeah,
That's
and then
amazing.
I think it's part of like the Cornell lab, like ornithology lab, and then so then it's just like this countrywide thing. So
yeah.
so we do fun things like that. There's like a bluebird, the Christmas bird count in the winter, and then they just do have. And actually, that was our first public event at the schoolhouse. Was we did a birding community open house.
Oh, okay.
And so brought in so people could come learn about birding.
I'll have to bring. My mom is such a birder. I'll have to have her come.
Check on the birding thing. So we did that. We did that the first weekend in May, and just it was a fun kickoff for the schoolhouse as our first event to make sure everything worked.
Yeah. Started out with that, but
we'll
so they could do hiking, birding, and then
then our evening programs. We've got that bunch of those. Those are all listed on our website. The ones that we have scheduled.
Okay.
We will have some outdoor volunteer projects. I want to my favorite one every year is going to removing old barbed wire fencing from ranches that don't need them anymore. Because a lot of our local ranches have gone to the virtual fencing.
Oh, okay.
And so will have leases on public land, and there's super old fencing from 75 years ago that they don't need anymore,
rusty
and it's
barbed
just
wire,
rusty barbed wire.
To get your
we
leg.
took out two areas last year, and just a couple miles worth of fencing.
Wow.
And it's really satisfying because you look and you see fences and fence posts, and then you work all day, and then you're like, this is a beautiful landscape that now the deer and the quails. I mean, I didn't realize how bad barbed wire fencing was to ground nesting birds. Because,
that's a good point.
Yeah, it's like they just run through the wood, they just run through the grass, and it's right at neck level. Sorry to be graphic, but
that's
it's
terrible
just,
for them.
I don't remember the exact stat, but it was 1 death for every 2 miles of fencing or something like that of an animal, of a wild animal.
Jeez.
It was a lot higher than I totally butchered it, but it was so much higher than I ever thought it would be.
Yeah, it's something you don't think about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's wow. So you're doing some valuable stuff. So
I'm hoping we'll get one of those lined up for the summer.
Yeah.
Because that's always a fun one. That's not one you want to do in the height of summer because it's too hot. But that's usually a September, October project.
Yeah. Good way to get outside.
It's cooled down.
Sounds like you've got all these volunteer
pants on.
Totally, that's true. You definitely want to layer up a little bit to protect yourself. So a lot of volunteer opportunities. So really just go to the website, it sounds like. I'll have the website in the show notes. But it's garna.org, right? So, well, thank you for sharing everything that you guys are doing. It's I feel like we could probably go over significantly more things that you've got going. But if you're interested, subscribe, become a member, stay tuned. It sounds like you've got more stuff in the pipeline, like all the things. So that's amazing. Well, thank you.
And I would say our membership, especially in this day and age, we did lose some funding from federal, not as much as some other organizations, but we relied a lot on like the BLM and the Forest Service for a lot of our programming.
Gotcha.
And so, individual donations and membership to us and all of our other local nonprofits, it's so important. So, I mean, don't feel like getting involved. Writing your checkbook is just as helpful as your
That's true.
as your
I mean,
strength.
now more than ever,
Yeah.
like I think right now it is really, that's a good point. It's really important to, I know sometimes people think, what can I do? It feels overwhelming of, all these causes and all this stuff, but like, every little bit helps, and, you try to help as much as you can for the organizations and the causes that matter most to you. So if it matters to you, then, help keep it going.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll leave you with that. And if you've come to this area, the nature in this area is absolutely amazing. So let's keep it that way. And so, well, thank you so much. Again, I'm Monica McCarthy. I'm a realtor who specializes in Salida and surrounding areas. And if you're interested in connecting with me, whether it's to help you buy or sell a home here or about being on this podcast this season, all of my contact information is in the show notes. If you like this podcast, please share it with a friend. And if you want to learn more about Salida, Colorado and the real estate market here, you can go on my YouTube channel, Living in Salida, Colorado. Thank you so much for listening, and take care.